Yeah, so news broke earlier this morning. Well, kind of. So I'm like on the fence about whether or not this is even true. But Bloomberg had a story about Tony Khan and AEW's rise in the ranks to challenge WWE. It wasn't sourced very well, and they used Eric Bischoff for quotes,
which is
and
always a problem.
Cultaholic, whoever the fuck that is, for some stuff. But they did say something interesting in there, in that they believe, for with sources according or close to AEW and close to management there, they believe that AEW and Discovery are going to come together to start their own streaming service, which sounds crazy to me, because I always thought that AEW was trying to get on HBO Max or the Discovery app, but it looks like, according to this Bloomberg article, right? So take it with a grain of salt. It might not be true. They actually said that the AEW video game was coming out in February, but that's not happening. So this could be completely bullshit, but I thought it was interesting for us to talk about here because we like talking about TV deals and stuff. So AEW and Discovery coming together to start their streaming service. What do you think?
I think that there could be some smoke to this fire. We had a long discussion about this in the Fight Game Media. I'm sorry, in the Brace for Impact chat. Right, we were
Yeah.
kind of going back and forth with this, right? And it was voices, why would AEW try to start a new thing when they already have Honor Club? And you and I both voiced that we are under the impression, and I have heard this from other people who might be in the know, that Warner Media, excuse me, Warner Brother Discovery, pardon me, I'm like three
Right.
companies behind, may own a piece of AEW, but
Yeah.
they don't want to own any of Ring of Honor, which we've seen countless times now.
Right.
So it makes perfect sense if you want to work with your partner, because like you had said something interesting. It's like you're going to want to work with Warner because they have people that can build and maintain this app for you and
Mhm.
have it be more integrated. And I brought this up too. Is like, how much, Mike? How much sports is on HBO Max right now?
Other than Hard Knocks, which is basically documentary, and some old documentaries, like, hey, they have a new one on HBO Max, by the way, about Willie Mays. Is fantastic.
Ooh,
I strongly recommend everybody go check that out.
fun.
So, but other than documentaries, nothing as of now.
So I'm of the mind that, no, and keeping in mind that the people who launched HBO Max no longer are running Warner Brothers Discovery, right?
Right.
Discovery came in and purchased them. So over the last 6 to 8 months, things are different than they were in that company. And it seems to me that with David Zaslav has rediscovered that there's more money in licensing your content than there is in having a hub. We all assume that when these streaming
Yeah.
services launched, they'd all kind of, everything under the sun would kind of live there. And that hasn't really come to fruition with any of these
Mhm.
places, right? Just this week, Showtime and Paramount announced that they were merging. Right. There's been a lot more contraction because there's not as much money as people thought there were. Like even Disney, which has figured out how much sports is on Disney, Mike.
On Disney Plus, next to nothing other than some documentary stuff.
However, they are able to bundle Disney Plus with ESPN Plus.
There you go. Yep.
So this is the thing, is why, and this again, this is a business thing. Why have all of your stuff tied into one place when you can have your stuff tied into multiple places? Again, from a consumer perspective, it sucks. But from a business perspective, if they know that I'm going to get HBO Max, but I'm also likely to watch AEW, there's a chance I pick up a bundle deal for both
Mhm.
of those services, right? And then you get more of my money rather than less of my money. That's why WWE left Peacock, or left for Peacock, right? They were getting so much from the audience, but they were going to get so much more from Peacock. So I
Yeah,
mean,
well, and Peacock is one of the is kind of the company that is doing the opposite of what this HBO Max deal would look like with AEW. Is they're we have everything all under one umbrella, and I wasn't subscribed to Peacock before WWE Network went there, but I wasn't that far off from getting it. I very likely would have gotten it. But it just so happened that they kind of came together, and then I became a subscriber. But I think it's very possible that a lot of people would be willing to subscribe to both, which sucks for me because I don't think I would.
Peacock's the outlier in this, in that they host a ton of content and they're willing to shoulder us, but they're also big time deficit spending. They're still in a
Yeah,
spot where they're spending significantly more than they're bringing in, and they're bringing in a lot,
yeah,
right? So they're this thing is these business models for these streaming networks. No one's really figured out the magic formula. Netflix had it forever, then everybody took stuff away, and they've been in content creation mode. And maybe they're going to get into sports, maybe not. They're not sure, but they're trying to stay viable. Prime is doing a lot more stuff with live sports, but they create some content, but not a lot. Like Prime is different too. Like all these services are different from each other. With Warner has got so much outstanding debt that they have to find various revenue streams. That's why so much stuff is getting pulled off their service and getting sold to others, because there's still money in licensing content old school. And with AEW, why put it on HBO Max if you can create something else and have it there, right? So it makes sense to me. It's going to suck ass if they're going to expect me to buy Honor Club and this, but we'll see what happens when the new TV deal time comes around. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah. Well, I think as a consumer, I think the best thing for me personally, and that's what I care about the most, would be for them to go to either HBO Max or to the Discovery Plus. I think that would work out well for me. That's what I would like, because I do like having my content all in one app. I like I go to the Peacock now. I watch some of the WWE stuff, and then I scroll through. I'm like, wow, they got all these movies, they got all of these TV shows, and it gets me to watch the other things. And the version that I have is the ad-supported version, which I pay $5 for. So that's getting more ads. So as a guy that went there for WWE, I'm sticking around for a lot of the other content that they have, right? And some of the TV shows and movies and yada yada yada. So I think if AEW is to be as big as possible, them being on the largest platform possible would be a great thing. However, if they're trying to bring in the most revenue, if HBO Max or if Warner Brothers Discovery is not going to offer them a significant amount of revenue to be on those platforms, then I think the better alternative would be to create your own platform in partnership with them, and then you guys kind of split the costs. That's what I would think.
Well, look at the UFC. The UFC is a big, giant conglomeration, right? They're not on Disney Plus. They are on ESPN. But that's part of Disney. Like Disney did not put everything under one. Disney did not do what Peacock is doing. Disney is making money with multiple apps, right?
They are. So they got the Disney, they got the Hulu, and they got ESPN Plus. And so maybe they do that. Maybe they have HBO Max, Discovery Plus, and an AEW one, or maybe they have a Discovery Sports platform, and then that's where they put AEW at, and then they put a lot of their other sports because Turner Sports is a thing. Like they still show baseball and basketball and hockey and all that stuff. And maybe they would create their own sports network app. And then AEW would be hosted on that along with the pay-per-views. Maybe they would do something like that. Or like we said, maybe it could just be an AEW plus. And if they're wanting me to, if the Ring of Honor content's on there, great. If not, I don't care. But I would be a subscriber for a reasonable price. If AEW's all their content was on in one place, I would.
I think it's going to be tricky because I don't know if they're strong enough to ask me to pay a monthly fee and expect me to pay for pay-per-views. Like what they're doing with Ring of Honor is a little questionable. Like I don't think I'm going to buy a Ring of Honor pay-per-view unless something truly blows me out of the water if I invest in Honor Club. And I'm going to try it because Voices of Wrestling today announced that the first 2 days they're going to do two tapings, for the new Ring of Honor show. They have nothing else is announced. If I'm a betting man, it's going to be the former Impact Zone.
Yeah. So the Honor Zone, yeah. Well, the two places I thought that they would do it, I thought it was going to be either there or they would just start doing live rampages on Friday night, and then either before or after Ring of Honor would be on. It'd be like a joint rampage, but then that gets into the weird spot where I think Brandon Thurston was the first person to theorize this, by the way, so I want to give him credit for WrestleNomics, that he thinks that WBD owns a piece of AEW, so therefore I don't think the WBD wants anything to do with Ring of Honor. They don't see Ring of Honor adding anything to the bottom line there. In fact, they're probably taking away from it, honestly. So I don't think that they would actually want that. And with that in mind, that makes sense. You're going to have separate tapings. You don't want to do a live show with Ring of Honor kind of being a part of it,
But you're gonna keep your Ring of Honor talent on AEW because that's an advertisement for you to watch Ring of Honor. Having Samoa Joe as the king of television with
Yeah.
those 2 titles is a reminder that you can also, if you like watching Joe beat the shit out of people, you can also watch him on Honor Club for whatever it costs a month. Again, I'm going to sample it so I can try these for at least the first month of television, and I will see what I think then, because there's a nice little there's a nice library of Ring of Honor stuff that I like, but how often am I going to watch it, realistically
That
speaking?
that's the thing. So whenever I left, I stopped watching Impact. Whenever I was on, I had Impact Plus, and I was just getting so frustrated with the fact that it wasn't working. I was so hesitant to leave there because it had all this old footage, but I wasn't really watching the old footage as much as I
Mhm,
thought I would be, because there's so much new footage to watch. There's so much new content, not only from Impact, but from all these different promotions that I'm constantly watching. So
mhm.
it's like you don't have a ton of time to go back and watch the old stuff. And when I do go back and watch old stuff, a lot of time I don't want to watch old Impact. Sometimes I want to watch Smoky Mountain, or I want to watch, UWF, or I want to watch whatever the hell. I want to watch random wrestling stuff. I want to watch old Japanese stuff. So and you only have so many hours in the day. I don't think that the Ring of Honor service isn't really for me, unless the pay-per-views were going to be monthly and they were going to be on there. That'd be the only way they're getting my money, and that doesn't appear that's going to be. They're going to actually continue to charge for pay-per-views. If AEW is charging a flat fee for all of their content into one app, including the pay-per-views, all of WWE Network, I'm in.
I'm
That I don't think that they're going to do that. I think that they see the ESPN Plus model, where you get to pay for $5, you get some exclusive content, but then you have to buy the pay-per-view on top of that.
Well, that was the problem with the WWE Network, is they realized very early on that by giving you all the pay-per-views, they shot themselves in the foot, and they actually hurt themselves, because they realized they probably could have given you all this extra stuff and at least charged for the big 5 pay-per-views. And
Yeah.
that was an error, and UFC has proven that that is an error. And if you want it bad enough, I mean, like, I want more stuff for less money,
Yeah.
but I like for AEW, I've never missed an AEW pay-per-view. Like, but does that going to get me to buy the service then? I got to see what's on the services. That's where I am. I got to see what's on these services before I commit to them. Like, you tell me you've got a streaming service. Well, what am I going to watch? What are you going to give me? Like,
Right.
I ain't watching Dark and Elevation now.
No.
I have no I have no interest in watching wrestling. It doesn't count. I will check out Ring of Honor because I like Ring of Honor and I always have. So I mean, like, for nostalgia reasons alone, you get my money for a month. Now impress me.
Yeah, well, I'm anxious to see how it all shakes out. Who knows if they're gonna get their own app or not? I think the smart play for them would be to do what WWE did and sell their streaming rights to a major media player. But maybe that deal just isn't out there for them, and so this is the
Or
best alternative.
but maybe that's what they're doing by doing that with Warner, with their partner, right? Perhaps that's part of.
Yeah,
Perhaps this is part. And again, this article was weird. On top of the fact
it,
they had that bizarre picture of Tony Khan, which I'm like, this is supposed to be in favor of me. Like, I would be
right.
seriously questioning all of this. So I question the validity of this, of everything that came out of that interview, or
Yeah,
that article, excuse me. But that being said, I imagine that the day after, because there's still money in those TV rights, right? I
yeah.
imagine there's going to be more money in those streaming rights come the next deal. What happens with that next deal? I don't know. But I think we're going to know within the next 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, hey guys, that's gonna do it for us this week. And until next week, mahalo.
Mahalo.